If you've Googled Dayton, Ohio in the past 5 or 6 years, you've probably seen the same articles over and over again. Population decline, post-industry, even opioid crisis, right? Well, I want to show you what those articles are actually missing and why the buyers who actually did a little bit more research, even half an hour's worth of research, are actually sitting on a significant amount of equity right now. The actual story of Dayton declining, there is some truth to it. There's some reality there, but it describes the city proper in small little niches that we're going to talk about, and we're going to explain what those actually could mean to you, what they don't mean to you, and we're going to talk about how that's not the metro area, it is not the suburbs. That's where the buyers actually land a majority of the time when they relocate here, is in the suburbs. The distinction actually is what's actively being exploited in those articles, and buyers who do the deeper research, they're the ones who are experiencing the giant payoffs right now. Some paid $250,000 for their homes 5 years ago and avoided paying $400,000 for their homes in Columbus, and they're not complaining because their homes now are valued at $400,000 or even more. So here's my promise to you. In the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to give you around 5 different things that you need to know about what's actually happening here in the Dayton area, some of the economic factors, some of the really big booms that are happening, and what actually makes this a smart decision every time over and over and over again, and why my relocation clients that come here actually end up returning here even if their jobs or the military takes them out of the area after they relocate here the first time. So my name is David Moyer. I'm with Keller Williams Advisors Real Estate in Dayton, Ohio. I'm also with David Moyer Real Estate. I've been a lifelong resident here in Dayton, Ohio. I've been a licensed full-time agent for over 21 years, and I want to be your local expert in not only real estate, but also Dayton in general. Dayton Metro, Dayton Suburbs, all things Dayton, whether it be the lifestyle, the culture, you name it, I can tell you all about it. So make sure you like and subscribe, share this with somebody you know, and let's dive into it. So let's actually start with what makes the Dayton economy bulletproof. And I mean really bulletproof. And that's something I talk about quite often, and that's Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. It's one of the largest military bases in the country, especially when it comes to not only military, but also civilian Air Force bases. It is a $16 billion engine. You heard that right, billion-dollar engine that most people that even live here don't know about. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base actually is one of the most single economic factors here in all of Dayton. And like I said, most people outside of Ohio have no idea it actually exists in this scale in the Greater Dayton area. It employs 38,000 people on base. All the way back in 2024, that was what was impacted. It was 19,000 just in 2002, so it's doubled in nearly 20 years. It brings in $16.5 billion in economic impact almost every single year, 81,000 employees all across the city. That's hospitality. That's everything that's impacted by the base itself. And like I said, it's the largest single-site employer in all of Ohio. So that growth from 19,000 to 38,000, it wasn't just by accident or just happened to grow because of economic factors. It was actually deliberate. It was a federal investment in aerospace research and development. So it's not a base that actually gets closed either by political parties. It's not going to come and go with the economic climate. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is the material command headquarters for the United States Air Force. It's the nerve center of the United States Air Force acquisition and technology. So it is structurally embedded in the national defense. Its presence here is essential, and it is permanent. Also, GE Aerospace is investing $45 million in Dayton area facilities in 2026 alone. They have one in Beaver Creek and this research center on the University of Dayton campus. So out-of-state buyers hear Dayton and they think manufacturing's on the decline. All they think is the automotive industry that was here years ago. But 30 minutes of research and they're asking extremely different questions altogether, especially when it comes to aerospace technology. And don't forget the Space Force. So the aerospace economy is the foundation, right? But something has been happening downtown. It's pretty incredible that a lot of locals don't really even fully appreciate yet, and I'm really excited to tell you all about this. Even if you're looking at living in the suburbs when you come to Dayton, Ohio, downtown urban areas impact the suburbs tremendously. So I want to talk about what is going on in downtown Dayton. Like I said, I've lived here my entire life, and it has changed dramatically over the past 10 years. There is a $400 million in 1 year investment happening. So, and this is not just a vision thing. This is real time happening right now. In 2024, there was a $400 million investment that happened in downtown Dayton. That was the highest investment on record since 2010. And it doubled what happened in 2023. So, $436 million construction happened in downtown Dayton, and it started in 2025. $3.5 billion altogether is going to be invested downtown by the time 2030 happens. So that tells you we're not even done with upgrading our downtown atmosphere. So, in terms of the occupancy rate in all of downtown, even the new apartments and condos going up, 90%. Now here's where that happens. There's the Dayton Arcade downtown. It's a 9-building interconnected historic building. It has been vacant for decades. It was completed finally in 2025. It has housing, offices, a hotel, classrooms, retail, restaurants, a huge dome. Some people still can't believe it actually got resurrected. Check out the Dayton Daily News headlines. My parents had a restaurant there back in the 80s, and when it shuttered and was vacant for years, it was heartbreaking to the city. The Delco is also a $100 million mixed-use apartment, garage, and retail space that is just a few blocks away. Dayton International Airport has a $79 million state-funded construction expansion of 150-acre plus. We have an international airport here. Honda has an EV battery plant about 50 minutes away. That's a $4.5 billion investment. Also, in Anna, Ohio, not too far away, there is an engine plant adding 300 plus jobs. So, downtown, 28 new businesses opened in 2024 alone. 80 new restaurants and hospitality businesses opened across the entire region in 2025. Coldwell Banker Real Estate ranked Dayton the top 2 to 3 up-and-coming tech talent markets in all of North America. That's a fact. And tech employment in the metro area is up 23% in the past 5 years. So according to Forbes, the top 4 metro areas for young professionals, Dayton ranks in the top 4. So this isn't actually a city in decline when you Google it. It's a city in mid-transformation that the national media just hasn't caught up to. So we used to be known for NCR, cash registers, and cars, right? And then when that went out, there was a decline. Now we are on the upswing again with technology, research, aerospace, and development. So if you're looking to get into a city that's on the ground level and increasing fast and fast, that window of opportunity is closing very, very quickly. I definitely encourage you to get in on the ground level right now. So let's talk about what happens when people actually figure this out and jump in right in the nick of time. I'm about to explain to you why the buyers that chose Dayton 2, 3, 4 years ago when they were relocating here are the ones that are really sitting on that equity right now. Because those are the ones that took that leap of faith when they saw Dayton just starting to rumble, but there's still an opportunity for you to have here. But once that window really fully closes and Dayton catches up with its neighbors like Columbus and Cincinnati, then the opportunity becomes smaller and smaller every single time. So let's talk about some of the comparisons. What makes the cost of living right now so significantly different compared to our neighbors like Cincinnati or Columbus or Indianapolis? So right now, in terms of buying a home in Dayton, if we look at all of the Greater Dayton area, the median price for a home in Dayton is around $259,000, $260,000. If you buy a home in Columbus, the median price point right now is $325,000. In Cincinnati, it's around $320,000. So those are pretty comparable. So you can buy a home in Dayton for around $65,000 less than you can Columbus or Cincinnati, which means your monthly payment is around $350 to $400 less per month in Dayton. So Columbus's rent also, let's say you're not buying, you're renting. Columbus's rent's around 36.6 to 37% higher in Columbus than it is in Dayton. Columbus restaurant prices, although they're excellent, check them out, love Columbus restaurants, but they are about 19 to 20% higher than those here in the Dayton area. So all in all, Dayton cost of living is around 6 to 10% below the cost of living in Columbus and Cincinnati. And in terms of the national average, Dayton's cost of living is still 4% below the national average. So that gap actually exists because Dayton still reflects its reputation and its fundamentals. So we're still lagging behind based off of what you found when you first Googled Dayton. And when all that catches up to Wright-Patterson, the Arcade, GE Aerospace, the Honda plant, that gap is going to compress. So the buyers who figured this out early and are holding the $250,000 homes we talked about that would cost $400,000 in Columbus, those are the ones that are really making out right now. Those are the ones that are maybe upgrading their homes right now. Those are the ones that are experiencing exponential wealth in terms of their equity. Those are the ones that bought in areas like Centerville, Beaver Creek, Springboro, Kettering, Bellbrook. So those are the ones who took advantage of the school qualities, the commuter access, the lifestyle infrastructure that we have here in Dayton. And compared to the Columbus prices and everything, they really find it unbelievable that they can afford what they can here in the Greater Dayton area. So I want to give you an honest version of this though, because not everything is peaches and cream. There are some real things that you need to know before you move here to the Greater Dayton area. And let's just be honest, all in all in Ohio or the Midwest, especially if you're coming from areas like the East Coast or the West Coast, or even from the South where it's nice and warm and maybe you have a palm tree in your backyard. So the city of Dayton does have its real challenges. There's still some vacancy in certain areas, especially in the downtown urban areas. There's still income inequality, and there are still some visibly distressed areas. But I will say that Dayton works very, very hard on overcoming those on a regular basis, and our community lifts each other up on a regular basis as well. So the communities I work in, for the most part though, are not necessarily those areas. So if you're looking for those areas, I can definitely help you out. But I do work in the areas, like I said, of Centerville, Kettering, Oakwood, Beaver Creek, Springboro, and Bellbrook, even Vandalia, so on and so forth. So they happen to be in the same metro, but they're not the same place. Even though if you mail somebody there, you can still address it as Dayton, but they are not the same. So Dayton's not Columbus also. Columbus has a stronger population growth. It has a bigger university footprint, the Ohio State University, and it has a bigger cultural infrastructure, right? So if those things are really a priority for you, Columbus or even Cincinnati is probably more your market, not Dayton, Ohio. Dayton wins on price though, ease of living, and what your dollar actually gets for you. So in terms of weather, I've talked about this before also, weather sucks in the wintertime. It's cold. It can be below freezing for weeks on end. Gotta have a snowplow, gotta have salt. But in terms of seasons, if you like all 4 seasons, we do have those here in Ohio. So I wouldn't tell you to move somewhere that I didn't actually believe in, right? The buyers I worked with that came here from out of state, from California or from Virginia or from Texas, those are the ones that have been here for a year or two. They're not second guessing it. They're actually buying a second property. And a lot of times if they've relocated out or if they're military and they PCS somewhere else, a lot of times they'll call me up later when they're time to retire and they come back. Or their request to be PCS back to Dayton, Ohio. And that's the exciting thing about where we live and where I grew up. And one of the reasons I'm still here is they like the cost of living. They like the large enough urban area that they feel like they're in a city, but small enough that they feel like they know everybody. So that's one of the things we love about Dayton, Ohio. So let's wrap this up and let's finish up some of the things that I do like about this and what you should do with all this information. So if you're taking this seriously, here's what I recommend you do. If you're Googling Dayton this, Dayton that, stop what you're doing right now. If you're not ready to talk to me or somebody like me, don't Google Dayton anymore. Start with something like Centerville, Kettering, Beaver Creek, Springboro, Bellbrook. Walk through each one independently. Look at the commutes to where you're working. Look at the commutes to the schools. Look at all the different price points they have to offer. Like I said, you can mail somebody in Centerville, Ohio 45459, but it doesn't mean that you can also put Dayton, Ohio 45459. So that's the difficulty that people have understanding here is you can live half an hour outside of downtown Dayton and still put Dayton on your mailing address. So, but if you're not interested in going through the whole process there and Googling that, you've watched this whole video and you're like, David, listen, you lived there the entire life. I just want to give you a call. You can schedule that call. There's a link down here in the description. There's also in the bio if you want to go there. You can schedule a 20-minute, 40-minute, whatever you like consultation. We can do it over the phone. We can do it via Zoom. We can also do it in person if you like. And I can answer any questions that you have about the Greater Dayton area and what we have to offer here, or even just some random questions that you have. So, once again, my name is David Moyer. I'm with Keller Williams Advisors Real Estate in Dayton, Ohio. Thanks for joining me on this adventure of Dayton and what it means to relocate here. And remember, the people that moved here before anyone else figured all this kind of stuff out, they're the ones that got the best prices. And that window is still open, but it won't be forever, right? See you soon.